Why do I, a 24-year-old, want to spend a lot of money on nice looking clothes? Find out right now. Okay, for the record, I'm not doing that ever again. Let's get started. Hello everyone. For those of you who are new to my channel, let me give a brief introduction to myself. My name is Chris Shaha. I am a Los Angeles-based musician. I'm currently finishing my master's degree at the moment, and I think I have an infatuation with the Sartorial. Now I wanted to make this vlog style video in order to provide you guys a little bit more insight into who I am and why I am choosing to go down this path. But before we begin, I just want to say a couple of things. First off, the music you are listening to in this video is that which I've performed in a couple of recitals. If you'd like to check those out, please be sure to go and click up in the cards in the corner. I'll be linking to my 2 recitals that I've performed this music in. And if you're interested in my take as a new buyer of Allen Edmonds and Alden shoes, then you can also click on that up here in the corner as well. So why at 24 do I want to invest a lot of money in just dress shoes, in just suits and shirts, and wanting to look nice? I definitely think dressing nice is a lifestyle choice, though of course I'm dressed down than compared to what I wanted to today because it is 90 degrees in Los Angeles, and even though I have the air conditioner blasting, I did not want to wear long sleeve dress shirt and my wool suit because I knew that I would easily warm up way too quickly in the weather that we are currently having as of filming this video. But I also do think that my interest in wanting to look nice had started when I was really young, funny enough, and I wanted to take the time to be able to go over a little part of my life, a little bit of that deep dive that I mentioned just a few seconds ago into why I want to do this. So where did my interest in wanting to look nice come from? We're going to have to go back to before I was in middle school, so that is going to go back to before 2007 at this point. Even through the first 10 years of my life, my family and I had to look nice for events like weddings, funerals, quinceañeras, and a few other things. And of course, all the older gentlemen were wearing suits. And that even included my dad, who was a carpenter at the time, and even to this day, he rarely wears a suit. He's still involved with the construction aspect of things, and he wears a suit when it comes to formal events. And even at that time, I wanted to look like all the gentlemen around me. I wanted to look like all of the older men within my family. Come to think about it, I've always wanted to be an adult ever since I was like anywhere between 3 and 5 years. Of course, I can't pinpoint it because it's been so long. So being as young as I was, I of course had a lot of growing room. And my dad, as frugal as he is, really did not want to get me a suit. And looking back on it now, I completely understand where he was coming from. So truly going back all those years, I really think is where it started, even if the spark of interest really didn't happen until fairly recently. Though of course we're going to get into recent months closer to the end of this story. Now we move ahead a few years, and I'm in band. It's mandatory to have nice clothing. Even if the schools provided, say, a tuxedo shirt and the bow tie, or a polo per se, both of which I was provided throughout the 2 years I was in band in middle school, we had to have black slacks and of course a pair of dress shoes. Move that experience on into the 4 years of high school, and it is absolutely mandatory to look, quote unquote, and this is the term that a lot of us like to really use, performance ready. And for all of our shows after marching season, all of the guys were asked to wear tuxedos. And I think it was at that time, I think it was my freshman year in high school, where my dad gave me his black pair of Florsheim Ashlands. Looking back on it, I'm grateful that I ever had those shoes to begin with, because I'm a size 13 and really sometimes finding shoes can be a real chore for me. And then for other occasions, say outside of the large ensemble performing, the smaller stuff, of course, I still had to look nice for that, but I didn't want to be wearing a tuxedo all the time, so of course I got some more dress shirts to top off my wardrobe. Then of course I begin my college years. Started my undergraduate in 2014, and of course I was basically still circulating through my old wardrobe for like the first year or two. I don't ever remember getting a brand new suit, or even my first suit for that matter. Technically, I got two first suits my junior year of college, and those were for my first recitals that I was performing that year. I already linked you to one recital, but if you want to check out the other recital, I'm also going to link that up here. And to top off the two suit purchases, in the spring of my junior year, I wound up making two different shoe purchases. One of which was an emergency purchase because I wound up forgetting my dad's shoes, which I was wearing for a long time. The other was my cognac pair of Florsheim Ashlands, which you can see in a couple photos from recent recitals that I've performed in. My shoes don't look that ugly anymore now that I've polished them, but now that I'm looking at things a little more seriously, I'm starting to realize what a mistake having just a cheap pair of shoes was. And let's keep in mind that a lot of my current dress wardrobe is all Men's Warehouse purchases. A lot of my older wardrobe may have been from some of those department stores that my parents always liked to be a little more frugal with, and at that time, wasn't a bad idea. I honestly don't think. And I honestly think for me, Men's Warehouse is a good first step in order to going to somewhere else, say like those higher end department stores such as Nordstrom and Saks Fifth Avenue. However, we also only pay for what we can afford, and that's why for this time I'm still gonna buy some things from Men's Warehouse. And since I mentioned polishing my shoes, it was about 6 months ago when I realized that I wasn't properly caring for any of my dress shoes. And so I just started looking into how to shine my shoes, how to polish my shoes, and I come across a video by Kirby Allison which essentially features their presidential shoe shine. It was from that video, and I would say that video alone, that ultimately led me down a rabbit hole to other channels which feature dress shoes, good quality menswear, and quite a few other things. So let me just name some of those channels off, and these are the ones who I would say have inspired me most about getting better about my wardrobe. And of course, the first name I said, Kirby Allison, Trenton Heath at Potter & Sons. They've been showing a lot of shoes. Those guys are amazing shoe cobblers. Sartorial Talks, the Parisian Gentleman himself, Hugo Jacome, Vladimir Richer, the Elegant Oxford, who does some ridiculous shoe shine videos. And I mean that in the best sense of the word, if that wasn't obvious already. And then someone who focuses a little more on the affordable end of things, that is the Cavalier. And it is thanks to them that I'm now starting to look into bettering my wardrobe, bettering my dress wardrobe, bettering the rest of my wardrobe in general, but primarily my dress wardrobe. And the reason why I'm focusing on my dress wardrobe is because I mentioned I'm a musician, and I mentioned being performance ready earlier on. And now that I start to understand what quality is, I want to be able to hold on to something for a long period of time. And generally, being able to hold on to a piece of clothing for a long period of time doesn't mean dropping that much money, it means dropping this much money. Now granted, for grad school, I had to drop a few $100 extra for a tuxedo for my large ensemble performances. Once again, I wanted to make sure that I had one that was going to last me a while, even if I was dropping this much money for the time being. In the future, I do plan on dropping a lot more money to make sure that I have clothing that lasts me a long time. And something my dad has always told me is that I should be saving my money. And for me, I take that in two different ways. Of course, there's the short-term save money, which I think we all know what that means, like putting it in a savings account, stowing the money away, any and all that sort of thing. But I also look at it in the other way of saving my money, and that means making a big purchase now to save myself money later. And I'll use the course of my music career as an example. The two saxophones I had back before I started college, those cost maybe a total of $2,000. I had an alto and a tenor, and those probably cost around $2,000, maybe a little more than that. The current total of my two saxophones that I have now are closer to $10,000. The same thing about paying a lot of money for clothes and paying a lot of money for some other things actually wind up coming around the same thing. It's an investment piece. My alto saxophone, which I wound up dropping a little over $6,000 for, that thing is going to last me well over 20-30 years as long as I maintain it well. Then of course we talk about the first alto saxophone I had. My family spent around $1,000 on that one. That one, I had it from 8th grade to my freshman year of college. So we're looking at around 6 years right there. My alto saxophone that I currently have has lasted all the 6 years and is still going strong. Now, of course, I haven't broken even with the cheaper saxophone that I had. But because it's going to last me so much longer, it is eventually going to cost the same. And that's the one big thing I want to chase in general, is more investment purchases. I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with trying to save a few bucks in the short run, because why spend the money if you absolutely don't need to? But then there's the other angle of why pay for something so cheap that it's going to get easily destroyed in a matter of who knows how long, depending on how hard you wear something. And that's why that's one of the first things I bring up in my last video. If you buy a cheap dress shoe for $100 and it lasts you 4 years versus a $400 pair of shoes that lasts you 20 years, the shoe that lasted 20 years and you spent $400 on already cost less than the shoe that you spent $100 on and it only lasts you 4 years. And for me, seeking out that quality, especially as of right now, being a grad student and I'm not earning a lot of money necessarily, is that this seeking of quality is an aspiration. While I can't necessarily afford to spend $1,000 on a suit here and then maybe around $1,000 for a pair of shoes over there, the fact of the matter is, if I want it, I need to have it in my sight and always wanting it. It is a goal of mine to get to a point to where I'm not having to continuously spend on my wardrobe. Whether that means that's my t-shirts, my dress shirts, my suits, my dress shoes, my regular shoes, and in all of that. Because ultimately, I know I'm going to have to spend money on it at some point, and I'm eventually going to have to spend money on new things at some point in life. But, and this is a big but, if I'm not spending money on brand new pieces of clothing and I have pieces of clothing that have lasted me years upon years, that's already saving me money right there. So I think it's very important that we look at our money in two different ways. That we have it in the short term, but we also don't want to spend too much of it in the long term. And that is particularly why I want to spend a lot of money on my sartorial wardrobe. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more content later, please hit the subscribe button down below. If you want to check out some of my other content that I haven't already linked to, please check out my channel or check out some of the links that I'll be providing over here. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.